Dr. Steven Porges coined this concept, the window of tolerance. And it looks like this. When we're at a moment in our life or a moment in our day where we say things like, I don't have the bandwidth for this shit, or I don't have the tolerance for this, or I don't have the capacity for this. So what we're really saying is I'm not in my optimal coping range. So within the window of tolerance, we kind of have 3 levels, and I'm going to work through it like this. In the middle, we have an optimal coping range. We call that the window of tolerance. Some people call it the window of capacity. And when we're in our window, we have a lot of flexibility with how we see problems. We're able to easily and effortlessly emotionally regulate our nervous system. No matter what's going on, we have the ability to stay calm, cool, and collected. And the things that keep our window wide are the things that we hear people talk about when it comes to self-care. So obvious things that keep our window wide: nutrition, eating healthy, having a healthy body, getting an ample amount of sleep, drinking enough water, having good breath, taking care of our bodies. Because when our bodies are taxed, all of a sudden our nervous system is going to be out of whack. So grounding techniques, yoga, meditation, breath work, these are all things that we know help widen a window of tolerance, but there's other things that can keep your window wide. If I feel like my window is getting narrow, you know what I like to do? I like to pick up the phone and have a phone call with a friend. Or I'll say, hey, let's go grab a lunch, or let's go grab a cup of coffee, or go for a walk. For me personally, human interaction, connection with another really strong positive energy is actually a very natural window widener for me. Going by myself and using my headphones and taking a walk and listening to music that I love, or listening to a podcast that's encouraging, those are natural window wideners for me. So everybody has natural window wideners, but we also have natural window narrowers. And a natural window narrower are things like things that are out of your control, extra stressors, life's challenges, and more importantly, unconscious, subconscious core beliefs that have you navigating life from a scarcity place. So we have this window. The window is our optimal zone for coping. When our window is wide, it's going to take a little bit more effort to pop into this layer that's above, or pop into the layer that's below the window. When we pop into the layer that's above the window, we call this hyperarousal. You know what hyperarousal is. It's overwhelm, it's stress, it's rigidity. Remember, in our window, when we're in our window and it's wide, we're very flexible, very fluid. There's a rigidity. There's a need to control outcomes. There's bursts of rage. And most people experience anxiety when they're in this hyper-aroused state. So now everything has this heightened level of urgency and must do, kind of take action. And in that hyper-aroused state, you're in what's known as a sympathetic state, and you're in a fight or flight zone. Below the window is what we call a dorsal vagal state. It's also known as hypo-aroused. That's HYPO. You're low. In that state, it looks like disconnection, disinterest, procrastination, a lack of motivation, apathy, no care for anything in the world, massive chronic fatigue, not wanting to get out of bed. We label that depression, just like we label that hyper-aroused state anxiety. So I love utilizing the concept of the window of tolerance as a way to understand the body's natural response to a set of unnatural or abnormal circumstances. And I use this window of tolerance concept, as well as a couple of other nervous system programs, in my book, The Calm Code, as well as in the course that I've written that people can take live called The Calm Code, because I think when people are dealing with anxiety, and I'll use that as an example because that's what that course and that book is about, we as a industry, as a mental health complex, have pathologized anxiety and disordered anxiety. We've told people when they're in an anxious state, that hyperaroused state, that they are disordered. They have generalized anxiety disorder. It's pathologized. But the reality is that there's a natural set of responses in our nervous system, our autonomic nervous system, which has many branches. It has the parasympathetic nervous system when you can rest and digest. And then you have the sympathetic nervous system when you're in this fight or flight. That's the natural thing that our body does when it comes up against stress. It doesn't need to be disordered or pathologized. And so it's really important that we understand the window of tolerance. And it's something that I bring up with my clients a lot as a way for them to see it makes sense that in a state like this, or a circumstance like this, or a core belief that I have, that I would pop into one of these states. So let's talk about hyperarousal. So hyperarousal is this very agitated, urgency-based, scarcity space where everything feels like it's falling apart, right? We know what it feels like, and everybody uses different language, but I'll hear things like overwhelm, panic, rage, anger, anxiety. We also see things like disordered eating in that state. Anything that gives a sense of control, OCD, substance use, all of these things can happen when we're in this hyper aroused state. And we're in it as a way to feel like we have control, but we don't have control in that state. We also have this other state that I've mentioned, which is known as this dorsal vagal state. It's also known as hypoarousal. And in that state, I want you to think of a possum who plays dead. So possums have this amazing ability as an animal adaptation to threat, that if they are being threatened by another animal in the wild, their ability to feign death, it's crazy. They can actually train their nervous system automatically. If they're being chased by a predator, they will look like they're dead. Their tongue will hang out of its mouth. It will foam at the mouth. Its eyes will roll back. Its heart will stop pumping. Its blood pressure stops working. It literally gets into this dorsal vagal state and acts as though it's dead, so the predator will keep going. So think of humans, what we do as natural adaptations to threat. The problem is with most people that are getting stuck in these hyper aroused states is that the threat's not present right now. Sometimes we find ourselves where we're frustrated because there's no real imminent threat. There's nothing right in front of you, but you find yourself in that state. And that's when I talk about that implicit memory. There's something still living inside your body, inside your nervous system from way back when, that keeps you believing that you're still in threat. And so this is why it's confusing to people, because they'll say, well, everything in my life right now is fine. And so we'll start to peel back the layers. We'll start looking into that backpack that we've referenced before, to find the things that maybe have kept them in this automatic need for a threat sensor always being on. And that is keeping them in that hyper aroused or that hypo-aroused state when it doesn't need to be. So one of the things that I talk about in my course, one of the things that I talk about in my book is nuanced ringtones. And this is a concept that I came up with for myself, honestly, first, and then I came up with it for my clients. So it kind of looks like this. When we find ourselves in a hyper or hypo-aroused state, there is a sensation in your body. The thing is that when we're not aware of it, we kind of ignore it. We don't understand that it's kind of a messenger or a signal. So what I do is I start to get my clients to recognize from the inside out little nuanced shifts that they feel inside their body. Do you feel something inside your stomach? Do you feel something in your chest or in your throat or in your heart rate? Do you feel something on your skin? Anything that gives you this idea that you're not in a calm, cool, regulated state. And we start to recognize it when we start to name it. And let's just say hypothetically, client has a particular worry that gets them into this hyper aroused state. And I say, when you are in that state of worry, Tell me what happens in and around your body, and they'll tell me. And then my next question is, tell me about another incident that brings that exact same sensation, and they can't. So if they're worried about work, let's just say, for example, and they're worried about their boss being upset with them or not meeting a deadline or a project not being well accepted, and they have a set of sensations that happens in their body, I'll say, do you have those same sensations when you're worried about your relationship with your partner? Or if they have children, is that the same sensation that you get when you're worried about your relationship with your children or worry that you might have? And the answer is typically no. And so what I'm trying to teach them is that as we pop into these different states, that actually different experiences get you into different levels of that state, and that each one is actually a little bit different inside the body, inside the nervous system. You feel it differently. Like right now, Artie's feeling chill. I don't see Artie as being agitated. Artie right now is playful, creative, confident, courageous for just coming up right next to me, believes he's actually very available for connection. This is what we would call being self-regulated in your self-energy or in your optimal window of tolerance. So here's the thing. When we understand things like the window of tolerance, which is kind of like, for me, my primer in getting my clients to understand their nervous system at the most fundamental level, just like understanding trauma and gaining that awareness or gaining that awareness of your invisible backpack. Once you have awareness of this concept of the window of tolerance, you can't unsee it. So now I've trained my clients to say, I know what I feel like when I'm calm, cool, and regulated. I know what I feel like when I'm in my window of tolerance. So I know right now, because I'm not feeling that way, I'm outside of my window. And I kind of get them to start to audit. Well, am I feeling hyper aroused? Am I feeling hypo aroused? I give them worksheets. I give them images. I give them checklists to help them be able to recognize, oh, this is a hyper aroused state or this is a hypo aroused state. And then I have them work backwards. What is going on in and around me right now? What thoughts am I having? What things am I experiencing that could potentially cause this reaction in my nervous system? Because remember, the only time that we are actually popping out of our window is when our body feels a sense of threat, even if it's implicit and it's not up in front of you like an overt thing. The window of tolerance is just one of many concepts and tools that I teach in my course and in my book, The Calm Code. To learn more and to get updates on the program or to join my waitlist, simply comment below, look at the pinned comment first, or go to my website, which is flipyourmindset.com/thecalmcode.